I'm Grandma Sparky. My real name is Helise Bridges, but everybody calls me Grandma Sparky. We're here to light up our hearts, our souls in this time that a lot of us are looking at what's not working, but this program is about what is working. And our mission for Blue Ribbons Worldwide is in our divided states of America and the world. Our mission is to unite humanity, one child, one community, one country at a time, in 60 seconds or less, with a simple blue ribbon that says who I am makes a difference, as a jump spark to get people looking at what's working instead of what isn't. And I just want to take a moment to introduce my guest today, who I adore. She is gorgeous from the inside out. You look at her and you'll see her right now. It's Katherine Sellery. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about her, but also I've been at her home. She travels all around the world. She's the kind of divinity that I think all of us just can embrace and know that everything that she is offering us today to enhance our mental health or the wellness of our children and families and businesses is because she's had 20 years of experience with this. And every little tidbit that she'll offer us today will have us breathe clearer and be more present for our children and for the people around us, but mostly also for the love we have inside of ourselves. So Katherine is a #1 Amazon best-selling author. She is a 3 times TED speaker, a communication expert. She's trained in mediation. She's a certified mediation teacher, conflict resolution specialist. Can you imagine all this? A parenting expert, a coach, and a mom of 2. And she's helping families and businesses in their ecosystems thrive for the last 20 years. She's also a graduate of our Standing Strong Together community building leadership training, and is a leader of our 4th Blue Ribbon city in the world. That's Denver, Colorado. So each of us is helping each other collaborate, and we all have expertise. Those that you're watching, that you matter, make a difference. One person can matter, and you'll know more about it. So Katherine, why don't you kind of take us into how we can be more present for ourselves and our children, our people around us, because we're talking about enhancing mental health, but that encompasses a whole lot, doesn't it?
It really does. And, Sparky, love and adore you. Such a stand for what you're doing in the world. Always want to collaborate and hold hands with you and see if we can, make the world a better place in whatever small or large way we possibly can. So I'm honored to be here with you today and delighted to see if there's anything from my perspective that touches one person's life and supports them and being able to shift something in their world that maybe isn't working as well. So I love the, see what's working and amplify, highlight, acknowledge, blow it up, and come from that angle. That's such a healthy angle to come from, because I do think the tendency is to really focus on what's not working and really talk about that a lot. And not that it needs to be ignored. Of course, we need to talk and acknowledge about the things that we're trying to shift and recognize the ways in which we do that work for us and the ways that don't. I think that, I love to talk about the 3 R's. It's one of my favorite things: retaliation, rebellion, and resistance. So the 3 R's, almost all of us are familiar with how it arises within us. And it just was so funny. This morning, we had a gentleman here at the house because we're putting up a big tent and having an event coming up in the next few months. And my husband mentioned that one of our neighbors is very reactionary. And even when our property is got the landscaper guys out here doing the lawn and whatnot, if they blow the leaves too late and it's 5:01 and they should have stopped at 5 o'clock, this person will just blow up. And we're telling this to the guy, and he says, yeah, and what do you want to do when that happens? You just want to keep blowing, don't you? And I laughed and I thought, and that's the 3 R's. Right. That is the nature of the 3 R's, is that, when somebody responds in a way that we find reprehensible, we just want to keep doing the thing that's driving them crazy.
Right,
It just brings that kind of tit for tat mentality. And I think this is what we're always overcoming, is the human conditioning is so much about the 3 R's and the tit for the tat. And we all get activated. And I laughed, with him a minute ago because I thought, oh my God, that's exactly how we feel. And we work with that something inside of us,
right,
because it's not as though it doesn't arise. And I think that's been one of the most profound things about the transformational journey over the last few decades, is that it's not that these things stop arising. It's how I am with what's arising that is constantly changing.
Would you repeat the 3 R's slowly so that we can hear it again?
Retaliation.
Yes.
Rebellion.
Rebellion, yes.
Resistance.
Resistance. Did I hear that right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Yes, I get it. Okay, so keep talking, and we're hanging on every word.
I mean, they're under this huge heading of resentment flows.
Okay.
And we find that we are actually activating the 3 R's by how we respond to people's incoming messages.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that's our first choice.
Right.
So there's an incoming message that comes to us in a way that we find hard to be with it. Yes. So we have a choice. Do we focus on how the person whose message that we find hard to be with is presenting? Or do we focus on, wow, this person is really struggling, and I can see that the way they're going about presenting it, I really want to go into reaction around it. In fact, one of the 3 R's is really close by, and I want to use one of those. And we'll go into this dance as a result. Or I can shift out of my current mindset and decide I don't want to judge you. Pardon me. I don't want to make this about my reaction to you. I don't even want to make this about how you are displaying the tragic expression of your unmet needs.
Right.
You're doing it in such a way that's almost guaranteed to activate within me some kind of retaliation, rebellion, or resistance. But the last thing you're really activating in me is compassion, empathy, and understanding for what's underneath that tragic expression of yours. And that, to me, is the game changer.
So slow that down and say that again about the compassion part, because you know that I had gone through a reactionary period and I froze.
Yeah,
and I'm very, very exquisitely talented at everything, but it was very close and very personal, and shocking, and I didn't know how to kind of be in the moment with that. Even though I can do that for most people all over the world. Even somebody with a gun in my head, I've written about it. I'm fine with that. I can be compassionate. But so slow me down a little bit and say more about that compassion part.
Yeah. So, I mean, sometimes it's easier to just give examples. So there was a situation where my husband and I were at the airport flying back from Mexico City recently, and it took everything for us to get to our next leg. We flew through Houston, our plane was late, every thing that could have gone wrong did. And in spite of all the odds that were against us, we made it to the connecting gate. In time, the plane's there and they won't let us on.
Oh.
At which point, both my husband and I were so disappointed. There were all kinds of things that had to happen. And there was so much riding on getting this next flight on time.
Right.
Blah, blah. We both had our own experience of falling apart, if you will. And I at least had the wherewithal to kind of laugh at myself and say, wow, this is the tragic expression of your unmet needs now, isn't it? Yeah. And how's it going, Katherine,
right,
in terms of this person at the United Airlines counter being able to respond to me, put himself in my shoes, reflect back my profound disappointment that they closed the door and let somebody else have my seat.
Right.
He didn't do a very good job. So not only did I find that I was on my own to diffuse myself, which of course I did, but it took a little longer, and it would have been so much more supportive if the guy behind the United counter had had the ability to say, I can see how disappointed you are. I'm so sorry. We
Yes.
gave your away. That's got to be so hard for you. I can see you really, really wanted to get on this plane.
Right.
And that you've got something really important that you needed to get to. And that's why you scheduled this flight. And I am so sorry. He did not do that.
Right.
Had he done that, I probably would have cried at the counter.
Yes.
He would have been able to see past my upset at just how profoundly disappointed I was. He couldn't do that. No fault, of his. I clearly wasn't able to overcome my feelings at the time either. But these things we call feelings, they tend to hijack our operating systems. And before you know it, we're just overwhelmed by them, and we act in ways in which we generally look back on with embarrassment. So it's this relationship to the feelings, to be able to be aware that, wow, these feelings are arising in me. And if I wasn't the observer of this experience that I'm having, it's more than likely that I would just collapse into them and justify my own reprehensible behavior by just letting the world know that they've done me wrong. And this, I think, is the human condition. We slip into being controlled by our outer events.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Letting them push and pull my response as if they're responsible for how I feel. The outer world controls my inner dynamic, and therefore I am always a victim of what's happening around me.
Let me just say something that you did for me, and given that we were both at the airport, you remember?
Yes.
And so you're talking about something that we can either react to, or we can, I don't know, have the universe support us, and we don't know, because so few of us know how to acknowledge another human being.
Yeah, true.
We're under so much pressure. Airplanes are coming in and out. People are yelling at us. The clerk is. But I just want to say what you said about this, and about compassion, and about being. Let me say, we use the word responsible, but I would say, like, when I notice my reaction. But here's what you taught me, and I'm going to tell everybody else. We're having lunch in Denver. We're having a wonderful lunchtime, and I think I got all the time in the world to get to the airport. And somehow I happened to check the schedule, and I went, oh my gosh, I thought it was going to be 2 hours later. And I said, we have to leave now. We've only got an hour. It was like, 45 minutes to get to the airport?
It was, some people would not have even tried. It was that close.
It was that. And you go, that's okay. You're going to get on the airplane 1 minute before, right? And if you've ever been to Denver Airport, it's got the trains and the this and and I'm in a wheelchair, so I don't have to. I'm 81 years old, so I don't have to schlep all the way. And so this is what you said. That plane will be holding it at 5:59 because it's going to leave at 6. And I held that, right? Held it. So here's the thing that you teach, and I want to just say, so I get to the wheelchair lady is wheelchairing me, and she is a wonderful Asian woman who has just been told that she will lose her job if she runs with the wheelchair.
Oh no.
I said, no, you don't understand. I get there. She goes, well, you're not going to make it. I said, don't you say that. Yeah. I said, you must hold the vision that I'll get there 1 minute before and I'll have a seat. And she goes, not going to happen, not going to happen. So then we're getting in, and we have to wait for the elevators. We have to wait for the trains. And I could see that this is going to take a long time. But here's what happens. The minute we pull up, I'm in the wheelchair. Of course, everybody's on the airplane. Nobody's around. There is this woman that's taking the ticket, she's still there, and the woman behind the desk. And this is what you were saying, that the woman behind the desk did, that you would wish to her. Yeah. So that this woman who I want to say that she was like the meanest woman in the world. And I'm not one to say that because I love people. But she said to me, it's a minute before. What's the matter with you? How come you didn't get here on time? I'm in a wheelchair. I'm 81, and she's yelling at me. And the other lady says, wait, I think we can do this. And she calls a young girl that had just gotten on the airplane, one of those, what do you call them? You stand by. And this 25-year-old girl comes out, And I look at her and I said, I'm so sorry. And she said, it was supposed to be for you to have that seat.
Wow. Isn't that beautiful?
And it was exactly 5:59.
Wow.
I was like,
Perfect. 1 minute.
but here's the thing that you embrace, and I think that's what we're talking about. Is that well, all that's going on, you would have wished that gentleman behind the clerk there would have said, if I understand how you're feeling. I mean, this is everything, but he is like we're all like a basket case. So, but you were able to kind of notice all that because you're not only trained in that, but you're also giving us a chance to take a deep breath. Did I hear that right?
It's a crapshoot every day. And I think that's kind of what we have as the human experience, all of us, is, I am in no more of a position to come down hard on the guy behind the counter because he wasn't able to rise above and have the skills, because at that moment, neither was I, right?
That's right. That's right. Neither was I.
Reality is that any given day, no matter how many years you've been working at overcoming the dysfunctional approaches to the world at large, it's a crapshoot if you're going to be on your game or not. And I guess we just keep building our ability to be in the world in a way in which it's just not so hard. Right. And that's all right here. It's all right here. That doesn't mean that everything's going to go my way, but it's my ability when it's not working out to not let it send me in directions where I'm not fun to be around within my own skin, let alone the people around me. Right.
When you're thinking about kids, let's put it into the business arena also, and families, because there's so much pressure, to get everybody ready, to get them out the door, to get to your job, to whatever is going on with the family. And what do you think is one of the biggest issues, with children and parenting and so forth right now that you might be speaking to, so that we can kind of take a deep breath on that one?
It was interesting. I was giving a talk recently, and I said to this group, in my opinion, children are the last marginalized community that nobody's talking about. So the reason I say that is that there's such a pervasive negative view of children that don't even realize that it's my projection onto them of this negative viewpoint that's actually then activating how I feel about them and what I do to them. So, as we start to move into the land of an internal locus of causality, right, as opposed to it caused me to feel that way, the external, you begin to realize, like, yes, I wish this behavior wasn't happening. And if I don't look at them with the negative view of children, like they're disrespectful, out to get me, they should have known better, any of that dialogue, that narrative, I just look at them and I think, oh, they're having trouble with time management. And a lot of people who are not young children have trouble with time management.
Absolutely.
The skills deficit. And most everything that we experience with children is really just a skills deficit. And we then add on top of it our should of what they should have known, as if that were really even accurate, where most of the time it isn't. Now, of course, you could be experiencing a resentment flow. That's possible. And the resistance and what you're experiencing of resistance is something you activated by using a controlling form of discipline and rewards and punishments and power over. And then you activated the 3 R's, and now you're experiencing that somewhere else. That's 75% of behavioral disruptions are the 3 R's.
So let me just say back in my own way, okay? To you is that and it's like kids are in parentheses in our society, because until they have enough money to pay, the taxes and all like that, you're paying out all the money, and they're under the rules of the house, but they're still human beings that are developing, and they don't have the skills for self-worth. they don't even know who they're going to be in this world, and the world is changing so much. But the way I've seen what you said is that we have a perception of this age, that they're not enough yet, they don't know, they're not smart enough, they don't listen. And all of it is, I think, the matter of just acknowledging that we don't know. You know,
Yeah.
and because you have your daily messages, your messages to us really speak a lot to what happens when, you know, we're ready to blow up, or we're under stress, or the kids are saying this. But how do we pause and breathe and just see that there's a human being there?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
when you see that, children are people too,
Yes.
and of course, developmentally, they're going to be at a different stage based on their age. And sometimes it's not just age, there's a bandwidth within which, this
Right.
isn't like reading can happen between, these ages. And it's a whole series and it's all normal. Some will be earlier, some will be later. They're all normal. But it's still a bandwidth. And if we are inconvenienced,
Yes.
we often focus on the experience we're having.
Yes.
Inconvenienced. So a lot of my clients will want to focus on, my daughter said this, my son said that, they did this, they did that, they were slow, I had trouble getting them out of the house, why are they so resistant, blah, blah, blah. And I'll say, okay, we can talk about your experience of that. If you want, we can spend our time together doing that.
Right.
Or we can acknowledge, of course, it's always going to be hard on you.
Right.
For sure. And what's going on for them? Are they falling apart? Are they drowning? Are they struggling for something that you're not even quite sure of yet?
Right.
Wouldn't it be true that if we can support them managing their internal experience better, then won't it also have benefits for you? So maybe we'll just focus on, yeah, poor thing, they're falling apart. This was the tragic expression of their unmet needs. They are not skilled enough to manage their internal worlds easily. They could really use some co-regulation. So it's a different step in our mindset. And it has to get us out of ourselves of just being in reactivity, which again brings us back to, at some stage, really, can I just live as the observer of what's going on for me as well as what's going on for others, and be like aware of what's arising, but not drop into it?
Yeah. And so when we started out, we said, most of us are focusing on what's not working. And here we are focusing on what could work, or what skill set we have, so that we can take a deep breath. We can look at my reaction if I'm right. We can just look and see who's there and be with them in a way that allows them to soothe their own anxiety.
Yeah.
And you bring to, and I have a blue ribbon for you, and I'm going to honor you in a moment. And we have a short time left, but I just want to really say what you bring up for me is, when I'm teaching in schools and I tell the kids, I say, go home and honor your parents, your siblings, let them know that they're loved and you appreciate them. I don't tell them what to say, but they'll do this. And then you bring up one story, a high school boy, he goes up to his father, and his father's in the computer at night. And he said, Dad, I have something for you. And he says, just, a little while, in a little bit. Yeah. And so the boy goes away, and it was like 8:30 at night. And at 9:30, the boy comes back into his dad. He's still on the computer. And he said, Dad, I have something to tell you. And he said, later. And the boy waits to 10:30. He's a high school student, has to go to sleep. He comes in and he said, Dad, I just want to tell you that I love you, and I'll give you this ribbon. Mm. And the father turns around and bursts out crying. And the boy says, Dad, I just want to be with you. I just want to take time to have time with you. And the father said, okay, son. And he said, tomorrow I'll come home early from work. Why don't I take you to the movie? And
Yeah.
that boy told me that later. And he said, every night now, my dad is coming home early and we're just sitting and talking. And I think that what we're really saying is that there is a pause sometimes that we don't know what to do.
Yeah.
But I think that we're all longing to be loved and understood and appreciated and respected. And all of that noise that bombards us is
Yeah.
really this, at least for me, a major need to be loved and understood.
Yeah.
And you do that so well, by the way.
As do you, Sparks. As do you.
Yeah, I have a special ribbon for you. It's right here. Oh, listen, I have one on too. But I want to honor you. Katherine Sellery, I have this blue ribbon and it says, "Who I am makes a difference." And I want to honor you because I think that when I'm in your holy ground of what you're saying, I watched you meditate and breathe and come from the present moment of just plain unconditional love. And you don't think from the neck up, you think from the whole of you, from your compassion, and you're so brilliant at everything because look, at 20 years, you're every day you're coaching a parent, you're coaching somebody in business, you're coaching them to get to their higher self and be present in the moment. And you always are that. And then you're authentic when you're not. I mean, let's face it. I mean, we're human, right?
Totally.
You missed the flight, for goodness sake. And your husband and you are just the priceless people. And by the way, the Legos that you have in your home, these beautiful Legos that you set up every year, which I don't know how much you pay for them, but they're gorgeous. And they're all over. And so you take present time with your family to build those Legos. So would you accept this gift from me?
Absolutely.
May I have permission to place it on you?
You do.
Okay, it goes above the heart. Let's see if you can see it on me. Yes, up. It
Yeah.
points up. Yes, it points up toward your greatest dreams coming true and has cheerleaders in the ribbon. In order to get, there's a special sound. In order to get the cheerleaders jumping, I take the spark from my heart and put that sound right in that ribbon. It is the sound that makes dreams come true. And now we have a new way of saying that. We go, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3. Bing. And every time you hear a bing, you know that the child within us just got our dream. And everybody gets 2 extra ribbons to pay it forward. And sometimes in a moment, in a minute or less, we can change ourselves, our children, our lives around with love. We're just learning more how to do that. Yes.
Yeah.
And navigate where we are relative to where we want to be. I really want to say something, and then I'm going to ask you to kind of lay out any final words that you have. But I think that I want to say that when there's so much demand on us, and when we turn on the TV and it's just all about the news, it's not working, and because of technology, we get it instantaneously, and it just feels like we can't breathe or get out of this. Leave us with a way to just take and embrace ourselves with your 3 hours and give us that bridge that we can walk, hold that place inside of us.
So, I think that some of the things that I fall back on all the time, I learned from Marshall Rosenberg. And one of them is, he would say, never listen to the words people say.
Right.
And that's just a great thing to learn how to do.
Compassionate communication. Yes.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Listen to the words people say, because those words are often, we get all lost in our judgment of whether those words were okay or not okay, and what we think of somebody, blah, blah, blah. So just don't listen to them. And if you can learn to do that, then you can learn to connect with what's underneath, right? So that's the place where we really are coming from our heart. And I guess the other side of that is, can we see each other beautiful? Can I see myself beautiful? Can I see you beautiful? Can I see all those people that I would otherwise be in judgment about as beautiful, maybe not in their, highest element with regard to the tragic expression of their unmet needs. But if I can just stop looking at the surface and focus on what's beyond the surface, then that's where Rumi says, I'll meet you in that field over there beyond right doing and wrongdoing.
Mm-hmm.
So those are to me just like milestones. They're the pillars that I just run through my head every day when I find my mind going into judgment. And I think, yeah, boy, it's the path that is so well worn. And I want to choose to be in the field over there beyond right doing and wrongdoing, where everybody is just in the process of being. Life is just unfolding. It's all just happening.
And it's like the blowing the gentleman in your neighbor when it's a 5:01 and they're still blowing the
exactly, and their head's exploding.
Yeah, their head's exploding, and we're being in, it's only 1 minute over, and
right,
we're pausing to go, let me take a deep breath.
So, and we can go into why their responses are inappropriate. And of course it was inappropriate. And that's the funny thing about all of this is that, the tragic expression of unmet needs is tragic, hard to be around, socially unacceptable. I mean, all of those things. It's not our highest example of how we can be.
Right.
And yet, when we stop there at our judgment of it, then my response to that neighbor becomes acrimonious. And then, we just spiral down the drain. We know the direction we take if we want to engage with my judgment of how judgmental they're being, and take that.
In the reaction of all of us, and oftentimes because I stop and honor people with a blue ribbon, it takes their mind away, and I go, boy, it's like how you wanted to have that clerk tell you when you're all in your, miss the flight. And when you say to the gentleman about 5:01 and say, you want to know something? You're right. I can really understand how it must make you feel.
Absolutely.
Really, I mean, it's like, it's 5:00 and I really feel for you. And I didn't realize that it's 5:01.
I'll go talk to them and ask them to turn it off.
Yeah, and like that. We don't know what's going on in anybody.
Exactly. Anybody else's moccasins.
It's the truth. And what I adore about us spending time, because every day you're on Zoom, you're going to Hong Kong, you were there for 12 or 13 years and living there, I believe. 33. 33 years?
Yeah,
oh, I had that off by a whole bunch.
Yeah.
and you know what? And I'm just going to add, I think this is important for all of us to know when we go to a different culture and what we can learn by being there and what it brings to you, so that the audience is, you're in a couple of days, you'll be up in Los Angeles, coming from Denver, going to LA, doing your work there, and then going with your husband off, for how long?
For 6 weeks. Yeah.
6 weeks. So say something about what it feels like to be in Hong Kong and what you learned from that. And
yeah, I mean, Hong Kong is as much a part of me as America. I've spent more time living overseas than I have in my own country. And I feel so excited about that culture. And I've just always had an affinity for it. Once I was exposed to it, it's again, one of those things that you can't even imagine. Like, why am I so drawn to this culture? And why did I instantly feel, so at home there? It's such an amazing part of the world, and it's going through its own turmoils, and there's so many shifts that have been happening there in the last 5 years. So I'm excited to go back and spend a good chunk of time. We have a home there. Our kids were born and raised there. They're third culture kids who feel as much connected to that culture, and maybe until recently more connected to that culture than the culture of their nationality. Just goes to show you, how it's a fluid thing. What we identify with as our own culture has so many different things that affect it, not just our passports.
What would be the one thing that you would tell us that happens? Let's say you get into the airport there.
Yeah.
what's the difference between being in the airport there, I'm just curious,
Yeah.
and being in an airport here?
Yeah. So it's interesting. I always talk about it because it's as though it's like Narnia, and something happens when I cross through, that invisible curtain,
Right.
and I find myself back in that part of my life, in that part of the world, is that I just feel almost as though this part of my life doesn't exist.
Right.
Just like when I'm here,
Just like that. Yeah.
I come back through that portal, and then I'm back in this, amazing country, which I love with my heart. And it's like that one fades away in the distance.
Right. Right.
And then when I'm there, this one fades away in the distance. It's so funny. I've observed my own experience of being, I guess it's a lot about presence. I'm so in it when I'm here, and I'm so in it when I'm there. And so wherever I am, I just am lit up.
That's where, so you bring yourself to every place that you are, which is the present moment, if I heard that right.
Absolutely.
And that, I think for all of us, when we go on vacation, we're thinking about, oh my God, I have to go back home soon.
Yeah.
I mean, the minute you're resting, you're thinking about, oh, I want to be here for longer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I believe what we're saying here is that wherever you are, enjoying and being with the culture and being with whatever is there in front of you, and being that earthy person that you bring, and you bring yourself to it, no matter what it is. And so I'm enchanted by anyone that's traveling and going to different countries, where the minute we go in, the food is different, the music is different, the dress is different. It is just different. Okay. We might have had the same airplane that got us there. Okay. And there might be a McDonald's on the next corner. I don't know. But I say that wherever we go, we're bringing the best self that we can, and that who you are makes a delicious difference for me. And I'm going to spend my time when we hang up with this, to relish the present moment. Sometimes, I'll go out in the future and want to have more of now.
Yeah.
Get it done. I've been working 44 years for this. Let's get it done now. And the timing doesn't happen, or the person doesn't call back, or whatever happens.
Yeah.
Just to be enjoying and taking a deep breath, and always knowing that who we are makes a difference, that we can bring love to our children, to ourselves first, and watch for the miracles, because the miracles are everywhere. And you, my friend, are a miracle for me. And God bless you. We'll get all the information so people can get in touch with you. We'll get it out in a couple of days. How's that?
Sounds fabulous as always. Mwah. Big kiss, Sparks.
See you soon. Okay. Bye-bye.